Next up, we have Duncan and Vassilis. Place IQ and MMA.
MMA. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure and a great privilege to be here. Are the slides playing? There you go. That's me. All right. So again, good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know, I come from the Mobile Marketing Association. As you can imagine, we spend a lot of time thinking about mobile. So in fact, we have invested a lot of time and research over the last couple of years to actually do research to actually validate and understand the value and the role of mobile in the mix. So specifically, we have done 11 multi-touch attribution studies with a broader sense, not just digital, but all the different media. And what I want to do in the next 4.5 minutes is to actually kind of cherry pick some insights from some of these studies and share them with you. And then I'm going to hand it over to Duncan to actually kind of talk about some of the implications that he's seeing as well. Now, on that note, I also want to thank all our partners that have made this possible, Place IQ and, of course, Foursquare, and some other of you who are in the room, Ground Truth potentially, and Verve. So a big thank you to all of you. So in the true spirit of this conference, I'm going to take a step back in time. I think that's the theme of the conference. That's my own time capsule. Here I am with Subbu Mitra 2 or 3 years ago presenting the Coca-Cola case study. I'm actually doing that for the same reasons that we did before, just to observe the disruption, right? Because it's very easy to kind of observe that in hindsight. So what you're seeing in this slide, if you can't see it at all, is basically the actual allocation of mobile in the mix in each one of these studies that we have run. And you can see that chronologically, right? From left to right, it's 1%, the first case study that we did, all the way to 26% in the last case study that we did. Now that speaks tons about how far and how fast we have moved as an industry. So I want to start from there. I also want to show you what the model predicted in each one of these cases as the optimal allocation of mobile in the mix. So you can see with the orange kind of bar that this, for the most part, this kind of bar is shrinking, which again proves that as an industry we move into the right direction. Marketers are becoming a lot more agile, a lot more kind of able to kind of optimize for mobile in the mix. So then with that in mind, the question becomes more about getting to a more granular level and understanding how do you actually make those allocations across the different kind of options that you have there as a marketer in the mobile space. And you can see that that has ballooned over the years. The last couple of case studies that we did with Allstate and Wendy's tested more than 20 different combinations of mobile tactics in each one of those cases. So it really becomes a very, very kind of complicated question to answer. Now, we've seen a lot of different patterns in this data set over the 11 case studies that we've seen. We've seen some specific ad units that perform better, potentially some creative approaches that perform better. The one thing that we have seen in a more consistent way outperforming everything else and being a lot more repeatable is data targeting. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, showing the last case study that we've done with Wendy's. This was a specific campaign that they did to drive foot traffic. They had a number of different media, traditional and digital. And what you see ranking to the top, I'm not showing you the whole slide where they had like over 20 media combinations, is targeted mobile display. So mobile display, that simple mobile display, was the most efficient thing in terms of driving foot traffic per dollar spent. Not just mobile display, though. Mobile display targeted really, really well. So let me give you a couple of examples what I mean by that really, really well. First, what Wendy's did is that they kind of defined a specific segment of coupon users, people who had used a kind of redeem a coupon before in the past. And they targeted them with their own advertising, mobile display in this case. And that, as you can see, was phenomenally well. It's not a breakthrough idea that coupon users would actually appreciate a promotional campaign, but it's a great one if you can use a simple insight like that and actually kind of drive it to the bank. So that's one. The other thing that they also did was to use a number of different location strategy approaches, all the way from the simple geofencing that we can see, and we all know that other people have spoken before that. It always works. It's in terms of driving foot traffic. So you can see the index here. The thing that caught my attention a little bit more in terms of using location data was to move past the kind of the approach that I'm just going to geofence all my locations and start using some insights and some thinking in terms of how do you activate the audiences. Things like Gail was saying before. in terms of using those historical location data to say, I'm going to find my fast food consumers, right? That produces 2.5x in efficiency. I'm going to match that with commuting patterns, and I'm going to find those fast food consumers who are also passing by one of these Wendy's location. And that produces 5x. So with that in mind, I just want to kind of live with that 5x and live with that thought of like what we can all accomplish if we just use the data that we have and just add a little bit of old school traditional insight on top of that. And I'm going to hand it over to Duncan.